It started with a perfectly executed swim and a text. "Sorry, can't make it again." And it ended, in a courtroom, under the flash of cameras, with shredded NDAs, broken lives, and a new future built on the ruins of lies. Max Trexler always believed in discipline, honesty, and the power of small steps, in therapy, in the pool, in marriage. But when working late turns into secret rendezvous, when his daughter finds proof on her mom's iPad, and friends stay silent not to interfere, he realizes this race he's not losing, because at the finish line, the stakes are too high. Greetings, my dear friend. I am very happy that you are watching my video, and I will be even happier if you subscribe to my channel. This will make me even happier. Let's get started. The rhythmic splashes of water blended with the lively chatter of children as Max Trexler watched his daughter, Aria, glide effortlessly through the pool. Her butterfly stroke was nearly perfect, though his trained eye caught a slight imperfection in her shoulder movement. Still, it was a minor flaw in an otherwise remarkable display of dedication. At just 12 years old, she already possessed the discipline and drive that could take her far in competitive swimming. A vibration from his phone pulled his focus away. A message from his wife. "Sorry. Stuck at the office again. Emergency meeting with Saul about the Richardson project." "Don't wait up." Max's jaw tensed as he erased the text. That made 3 practices she had missed this week alone. His gaze returned to Aria, relieved to see her completely absorbed in her training, unaware of who had or hadn't walked through the entrance. "Looking strong, Aria," called Coach Sally Daniel. "Just remember to keep those shoulders relaxed in the rotation." Later that evening, Max was back at his pediatric physical therapy clinic, guiding 6-year-old Marcus through another session. The boy, still recovering from a severe car accident, took slow, cautious steps as Max steadied him. "That's it, buddy. Keep going. You're doing great," Max encouraged, offering a reassuring smile. A throat cleared behind him. He turned to see Faith Bruce, the clinic's manager, standing in the doorway. "Max, got a minute? Corporate sent another message about the buyout." "After I finish with Marcus," he replied, keeping his focus on the boy's progress. Across the room, Marcus's mother watched anxiously. Max offered her a small nod of reassurance before turning back to his patient. 20 minutes later, Faith handed him a printed email in his office. "They're applying more pressure," she said, her voice tinged with frustration. "Threatening to open a competing clinic just 2 blocks away if you don't sell." Max's eyes darkened as he read the email. "They'd turn this place into a factory," he muttered. 15-minute appointments, standardized treatment dictated by insurance policies. Everything I've worked against. "We both know what happens to kids like Marcus in those kinds of clinics," Faith agreed, crossing her arms. "But Max, the offer is serious money." "Money isn't everything," he said firmly, setting the paper aside. "How's the Williams case going?" Before she could answer, Max's phone lit up with a new message from Aria. "Dad, I qualified for states. Where's Mom?" His stomach tightened. Chloe had promised she would be there for this meet. He had reminded her 3 times that morning. Faith, noting his expression, hesitated. "Something wrong?" Max exhaled. "Chloe missed Aria's qualifying meet." Faith's face remained carefully neutral. "Another emergency with Saul?" Max ran a hand through his hair. "The new boss who's keeping her late every night?" Faith pressed. "The same," he admitted, checking his calendar. "That makes 8 events she's missed in the past 2 months." Faith hesitated before speaking again. "People are starting to talk." Max's eyes sharpened. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. "Just little things, late meetings, closed doors, the way he looks at her in public." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "And the way she lets him." The first undeniable sign came on a Tuesday afternoon. Faith had just finished a client lunch when she noticed Chloe's distinctive red Tesla parked outside the Westbrook Hotel at 2 in the afternoon during what was supposed to be a board meeting. Her hands trembled slightly as she took a picture. She had known Max since college, had seen him pour his soul into building his clinic, had watched his unwavering devotion to every child he helped. He didn't deserve this. A few days later, Aria burst into Max's office after school, backpack still slung over her shoulders. "Dad, you won't believe who I saw today." Max looked up from his paperwork. "Who, sweetheart?" "Mom and Uncle Saul." Aria plopped down in a chair. "They were having lunch at Castellanos when Jenny and I walked by after early dismissal." She hesitated, frowning. "Mom looked really surprised to see me. Like, really surprised. She said it was a work lunch, but she didn't know we had early dismissal today." Max kept his expression unreadable. "Did she say anything else?" Aria lowered her voice. "She just kept insisting it was about work. But Dad?" She bit her lip. Uncle Saul had his hand on her arm, not in a work way. That night, after Aria had gone to bed, Max sat in his home office, scrolling through bank statements. Certain transactions stood out. La Pearl Boutique, $430, Westbrook Hotel, $280, Grand Marina Hotel, $315, all on nights he had been working late at the clinic. His phone buzzed. A message from Faith. "Check your email. Security footage from last week. I'm sorry." The video was grainy but clear enough. Chloe entering Saul's office at 9:47 p.m., leaving at 1:23 a.m., her hair slightly disheveled, his tie loosened. Max's hands remained steady as he downloaded and saved the file. Max's voice remained steady as he called his lawyer the following morning, arranging a meeting without a moment's hesitation. But the undeniable proof arrived in the most unexpected way, through Aria. In a cruel twist of fate, she had borrowed Chloe's iPad for a school project when a flood of notifications lit up the screen. "Last night was unforgettable. Can't stop thinking about you. S. Missing you already. These meetings are unbearable without you. S. Soon. Baby. Max is working late again Thursday. Same place. M." Confused and uneasy, Aria carried the device straight to her father. Max took screenshots, his heart aching for his daughter while his resolve hardened. The confrontation took place on a Sunday evening. With Aria away at a sleepover, Max spent the day compiling evidence and reviewing his legal options. When the time came, Chloe was lounging on the couch, absorbed in her phone, unaware of the reckoning about to unfold. "We need to discuss Saul," Max said, his voice devoid of emotion. She didn't look up. "What about him?" "Your affair." That got her attention. Her expression flickered, first feigned innocence, then rapid-fire defensiveness. "It was a mistake, Max. A stupid, meaningless mistake." His tone was frigid. "A mistake you've been making for months? In multiple hotels?" Her face paled. "Have you been spying on me?" "No, you've been reckless." And Aria saw the messages. "She's just a kid. She doesn't understand." "She understands enough." Max held up his phone. "Want to explain these texts? The hotel bills? Maybe the security footage?" Chloe's composure fractured. "You self-righteous bastard. You always act like you're above everyone else with your charity clinic and your moral high ground. At least Saul appreciates ambition." "Ambition?" Max let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "That's what you call sleeping your way to the top?" Her eyes blazed with fury. "You're just jealous. I make real money while you waste time playing hero to crippled kids." The venom in her words hung thick in the air. Max exhaled sharply. "Get out." Chloe sat up straighter. "This is my house too. The house I bought before we were married, with my inheritance, that house." His smile was cold, unyielding. "You have 30 minutes to pack a bag. After that, I'm changing the locks." The situation escalated when Alberta Merritt, Chloe's mother, stormed in uninvited. clearly summoned by her daughter's frantic call. "How dare you throw my daughter out?" she screeched. "After all she's done for you, working late to support that vanity project of a clinic?" Max didn't budge. "Your daughter has been sleeping with her boss. She's ignored Aria for months, and now she wants to play the victim." Alberta stepped closer, her voice seething. "Maybe if you had been the husband she needed, given her the attention she deserved." "The attention she deserved?" Max's voice cut through the room. "Like the attention she gives Aria. When was the last time she attended a swim meet? A parent-teacher conference? When was the last time she even cooked dinner for her own daughter?" "Don't you dare question her as a mother," Alberta spat. "Aria would choose her over you in a heartbeat." A slow, calculated smirk curved Chloe's lips. Her tears, once theatrical, vanished. "She's right," she said, her voice cool and assured. "I'm her mother. I have money, influence, connections. What do you have?" Max met her gaze, unwavering. "We'll see what the courts have to say about that." He stepped back, voice firm. "Now get out before I call the police." The final betrayal came from Drew O'Connor, a friend Max had trusted for 15 years. At Drew's request, they met for coffee. Drew stirred his drink, staring into the whirl of liquid. "I need to tell you something." Max waited, his expression unreadable. "I've known about Chloe and Saul for months." Max didn't flinch. "And it never crossed your mind to tell me?" "I was trying to protect you, man. You had so much going on. Aria, the clinic. Protect me?" Max's voice was quiet, but deadly. "By letting my wife humiliate me? By allowing my daughter to find out like this? It's not that simple." Max stood. "Actually, it is. You picked a side, Drew. And you picked wrong." As he walked away, his phone buzzed. Messages from mutual friends flooded in. They'd heard Chloe's version. The lies painted him as cold, controlling, obsessed with work. They believed her. Max blocked each number one by one. Each erased message only strengthened Max's resolve. The evidence was in his hands, undeniable, irrefutable. Now he had to decide what came next. As he stepped through the door, he saw Aria curled up on the couch, wrapped tightly in her swim team hoodie. Her voice was soft, barely above a murmur. "Dad?" Max met her gaze, reading the silent worry in her eyes. "Is Mom coming home?" He sat beside her, pulling her into a warm embrace. "Not right now, sweetheart, but I need you to understand something. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Aria clung to him. "We'll be okay. I know we will." Max felt his chest tighten with emotion, then harden with determination. "Yes, we will," he promised. She hesitated before speaking again. "I saw the text on her iPad. I'm not dumb." His stomach clenched. "She chose him over us, didn't she?" Max swallowed down the anger, the betrayal threatening to surface. "People make mistakes, Aria, but that's on them, not on us." Forcing a small smile, he nudged her. "How about we make some dinner?" As they headed for the kitchen, his phone vibrated. A message from Faith. Just heard. "Need anything?" Max glanced at Aria, who was already gathering ingredients from the fridge. He typed a reply. "Just your friendship." The pieces were falling into place. Chloe had shown her true colors. Soon she would have to face the consequences. But for now, Max had two priorities, a daughter to protect and a clinic to run. The day after Chloe left, Max sat in his office, reviewing financial records when Faith appeared in the doorway, her expression unreadable. "You need to see this." She placed a business card on his desk. Max picked it up. Dr. Rachel Lake. His brows knit together in confusion. "Saul Smith's wife," Faith clarified. "She called the clinic, wants to meet, says it's personal." She lowered her voice. "She knows Max." They arranged to meet at a quiet cafe across town. Rachel Lake had sharp features and eyes that gave nothing away. She stirred her untouched coffee. finally breaking the silence. "How long have you known?" "2 months. You?" Her lips pressed into a tight line. "Suspected for 6. A bitter smile flickered across her face. "Saul thinks he's subtle, but he's painfully predictable. He follows a pattern. Young executives often married, making them feel important. Then he discards them." Max leaned in. "Tell me everything." She slid a manila envelope across the table. 2 previous affairs with employees, both buried under NDAs and severance deals. Her voice dripped with contempt. "The companies covered it up, but I kept records." Max studied her. "Why bring this to me?" Rachel's expression hardened. "Because this time he targeted the wrong people. Your wife may have been willing to destroy her family for him, but I'm done protecting him." An alliance began to form. Rachel had influence, connections, and years of documentation. Max had security footage and Aria's messages. "There's someone you need to meet," he said, reaching for his phone. 20 minutes later, a woman in a sharply tailored suit entered the cafe, exuding confidence. "Heidi Carey," she introduced herself, taking a seat. She met Rachel's gaze. "Your husband worked with my daughter during her physical therapy. Best treatment she ever received. That's why I'm taking both your cases. Pro bono." Rachel blinked. "Both cases?" Heidi's smile was razor sharp. "Divorce and corporate misconduct. With Max's evidence and your records, we're going to dismantle them." Back at the clinic, Faith was sorting through the growing collection of evidence. Security footage, emails, statements from employees who had witnessed Chloe's private meetings with Saul. "Sally Daniel called," Faith said, flipping through notes. "Aria's swim coach. She documented every practice Chloe skipped, every meet she ignored. She's willing to testify." Max exhaled slowly, taking in the weight of their case. "They assumed I'd just accept it, that I'd be too afraid of losing Aria to fight back." Faith placed a steady hand on his shoulder. "They don't know you very well, do they?" Max met her eyes. "No," he said firmly. "They really don't." By midday, the clinic's new security system was fully operational. Every entrance was under surveillance. Motion detectors, audio-visual recording, remote access, each piece of data securely uploaded to cloud storage. Max handed the technician a check. "Perfect." That afternoon, he took Aria to an appointment with Dr. Aileen Castro, a highly regarded child psychologist. He waited outside while they spoke. When the session ended, Dr. Castro emerged with a composed expression. "She's angry," she said, "but not at you." The revelation of her mother's betrayal struck her like a sudden chill, leaving her feeling discarded, as if she had been swapped out for something more convenient. These conversations, recorded meticulously, would serve as evidence of the toll it had taken on her. "How is she really doing?" Max asked, his usual calm demeanor betraying a flicker of worry. "She's resilient," Dr. Castro reassured him. "Your presence provides crucial stability. I'm tracking everything: Chloe behavioral shifts, Aria's emotional responses, and your unwavering involvement. The court will have a complete and undeniable record." That afternoon, Max met with his financial advisor. Already, half of the joint assets had been transferred into safeguarded accounts, a perfectly legal move under the circumstances. The advisor, experienced in handling contentious divorces, gave him a knowing glance. "She'll make a grab for the money the moment she realizes what's happening." "Let her try," Max responded, his tone steady. Nothing had been left to chance. Rachel's deep dive into Saul's business dealings had unearthed a gold mine of corruption. "Look at these real estate transactions," she said during their next meeting. "It's riddled with ethical violations. Insider trading, bribes, manipulated property valuations. He's been using his affairs to keep people quiet." "And Maryland?" Rachel's voice was sharp with contempt. "She's knee-deep in it. She's been covering up his tracks." "That's exactly why he pulled her in," Max reasoned. He needed an insider who wouldn't ask inconvenient questions. Meanwhile, Max made sure his role as a parent was unquestionable. Every school pickup, every meal he prepared, every moment spent helping with homework, carefully documented. His schedule revolved around Arya's needs: swimming lessons, doctor visits, tutoring sessions. Chloe's manipulative tactics only escalated. She frequently changed arrangements at the last second, then insisted no such changes had occurred. Each incident was recorded, complete with timestamps. "I told you I'd have Arya this weekend," she insisted. "No," Max replied evenly. "You said next weekend. Every conversation was stored for future reference. You're turning her against me. You're doing that on your own, Chloe." Then there was Alberta. She arrived unannounced one afternoon, barging in just as Arya was finishing her schoolwork. "I'm taking my granddaughter shopping," she announced, stepping inside without hesitation. "No, you're not," Max said firmly. "You don't have permission." "I don't need permission. I'm her grandmother." "You do when it comes to my daughter," he countered, his voice unyielding. "And after your little display at dinner, you won't be getting it." "How dare you?" "The security system is recording, Alberta. Every word, every action. Keep that in mind." Seething, she turned on her heel and stormed out. Another incident added to the growing file for the custody battle. Not long after, an invitation arrived, printed on luxurious cardstock. Chloe's 37th birthday celebration at Lumazone, the city's most exclusive venue. "Impressive guest list," Rachel remarked, scanning the names. "Board members, socialites, every person who's played a role in their deception." "She's curating her witnesses," Heidi added. "Rumor has it she's planning a major announcement. Let me guess. She'll cast herself as the victim?" Max's laughter was devoid of humor. Not just her, Rachel's jaw tightened. Saul's positioning himself too. "He's going to make a public statement about our divorce, claim my emotional instability drove him to cheat." Classic deflection. "Perfect timing," Heidi noted. "We're ready. HR reports, real estate board complaints, family court filings. The evidence packages are finalized." "Arya will be with your parents that weekend?" Rachel confirmed. Max nodded. "She'll be safe while we handle this." Everything was coming together. Process servers disguised as hotel staff, witnesses placed in key positions, every step meticulously planned, every legal loophole closed. "You understand there's no going back now?" Faith asked softly as they reviewed the final arrangements. Max recalled Arya's tear-streaked face when she first saw the incriminating messages. He remembered Chloe's harsh words, her threats over custody, the repeated betrayals, the endless lies. "Good," he said. "That's exactly what I want." Rachel squeezed his shoulder. "They assumed we'd be easy to manipulate, that you'd be too afraid of losing Arya to fight back, that I'd be too concerned about my reputation to take a stand." "Their mistake," Max replied without hesitation. The trap was set. Every piece was locked in place. Now all that remained was Chloe's grand birthday party, where their carefully orchestrated plan would unfold. That night, as Max tucked Arya into bed before she left for his parents' house, she clung to him tightly. "You won't let Mom take me away, will you, Dad?" "Never," he promised. Some fights were worth the battle. Every single detail mattered. He eased her car door shut before glancing at his phone. Messages from Heidi, Rachel, and Faith confirmed that everything was proceeding as planned. In just 48 hours, Chloe and Saul would understand what it meant to underestimate the wrong people. Max smirked, remembering Arya's words from months ago. "I'm not a fool. She chose him over us." That decision had led them all to this moment. The invitations on his desk, pristine and elegant, felt like a cruel joke. Soon, Chloe would have far greater concerns than embossed stationery. Max had spent years helping children navigate obstacles that seemed impossible. Now, those same skills, his patience, his strategy, would be redirected. He would protect his daughter, and those who had hurt her would face the consequences. Let them believe he was weak. Let them cling to their delusions. The trap was already set, and this time, there would be no way out. The Lumazone ballroom gleamed with opulence, an exhibition of affluence designed to impress. Chloe commanded attention near the champagne fountain, draped in a couture gown worth more than most people's annual rent. Nearby, Saul Smith maintained his usual polished demeanor, his confident grin barely concealing his arrogance. Across the room, Alberta Merritt lifted her glass, her voice slicing through the background chatter. "To my extraordinary daughter," she announced, "who has persevered despite the years of neglect and isolation she endured." From their discreet vantage point in the hotel lobby, Max and Rachel monitored the security feed on Faith's tablet. "Your mother-in-law is quite the storyteller," Rachel remarked dryly. Max checked his watch. "Oh, she's just getting started. Are you ready?" Rachel adjusted the sleek black fabric of her dress. "Always." Inside the ballroom, Alberta continued her well-rehearsed speech. "A mother's love is sacred. When Chloe came to me, broken from years of emotional abandonment, the grand doors swung open, heads turned as Max and Rachel entered with quiet, calculated precision. Chloe, mid-sip, paused, her champagne glass suspended in mid-air. "Now," Max murmured into his earpiece. The servers, each carefully chosen for this moment, moved into position. 3 approached Chloe. 2 closed in on Saul. Documents were presented with practiced efficiency. Chloe's brow furrowed as she scanned the papers. "What is this?" Her voice rose in pitch. "You dare to interrupt my event?" A server responded in a measured tone. "Ma'am, you have been served. Divorce papers, a custody petition, and a corporate ethics violation notice." Saul's face darkened as he skimmed his own documents. "This is preposterous." Another server, unfazed, continued, "Mr. Smith, you are hereby served with divorce proceedings, a corporate ethics investigation, and formal documentation of workplace harassment violations." Max's team executed their plan seamlessly. HR personnel discreetly received a full report detailing the affair and its professional implications. Board members were handed irrefutable evidence of ethical misconduct. The family court mediator obtained an exhaustive account of Chloe's neglect. All around the room, guests retrieved their phones, capturing every second of the unfolding scandal. The meticulously curated illusion Chloe had maintained was beginning to fracture. "You manipulative," Chloe's voice cracked as her composure splintered. "You planned this at my birthday party." Max remained unshaken. "Planned what? I'm simply ensuring the truth reaches your chosen audience." Saul stepped forward, his posture menacing. "You really think you can humiliate us like this?" Max didn't flinch. "Step back, Mr. Smith." His tone was even, but with so many recording devices aimed in their direction, the implication was clear. Any misstep on Saul's part would be documented. "Unless you'd like to add assault to your growing list of infractions." Saul's hands clenched. "I will destroy you. Both of you. You'll never work in this city again." Rachel arched an eyebrow. "Threatening a witness? On camera? Brilliant move." Alberta tried to salvage the situation. "How dare you crash this event after everything Chloe has endured?" Max wasn't interested in her theatrics. "Yes, let's discuss suffering. Let's talk about the missed swim meets, the broken promises, about hotel suites and clandestine meetings, about corporate funds financing an affair." The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. Papers rustled as more guests skimmed the damning evidence. "He's lying." Chloe's voice wavered, desperation creeping in. "I am a good mother." Max met her gaze, unyielding. "The records tell a different story. Every absence, every broken promise, every moment you put your affair above our daughter, it's all there." The room was silent except for the faint rustling of documents and the steady hum of recording phones. "Get out!" Chloe screamed. "Get out of my party!" Max's smile was glacial. "Your party?" His gaze swept across the stunned attendees. "I think it just became a business meeting. You might want to start explaining those real estate transactions to your board." The real estate board wasted no time launching an ethics investigation, undoubtedly encouraged by the viral footage of Saul's reaction. "Previous NDAs are collapsing," Heidi reported at their next strategy session. "Two former employees have come forward after seeing the footage from the party." Rachel smirked. "Looks like money can't buy silence forever, especially when there's blood in the water." The custody hearing proved to be a defining moment. The courtroom hushed as the security footage played, making Alberta's threats impossible to ignore. Her voice, sharp with anger, filled the space. "I'll take that child whether you approve or not," she declared. "You have no right to keep her from us." In stark contrast, the meticulously kept records of Max's unwavering presence in Aria's life told another story entirely. Every swim meet attended, every doctor's visit managed, every school event supported, Max had been a constant, while Chloe's repeated absences spoke volumes. Then came Dr. Castro's testimony, which delivered a critical blow. "Aria exhibits clear signs of emotional neglect from her mother," he affirmed. "This neglect only worsened following the affair. Mrs. Trexler's consistent choice to prioritize her relationship with Mr. Smith over her daughter's well-being has left deep psychological scars." Drew's attempt to defend Chloe only made matters worse under the scrutiny of Max's lawyer. "You were aware of the affair for months?" the attorney pressed. Drew hesitated. "I was only trying to protect—" "A simple yes or no, Mr. O'Connor. Did you intentionally conceal this from Max?" Drew exhaled, the weight of the moment bearing down on him. "Yes." His silence during Aria's suffering said more than words ever could. Meanwhile, an internal investigation into Chloe's company uncovered a level of corruption few had anticipated. Her financial misconduct was irrefutable. Company funds were used to reserve hotel rooms, the forensic accountant reported. Expense reports were manipulated to hide extravagant gifts. Even corporate vehicles were misused for personal rendezvous. As news of the scandal broke, public support for Max's clinic surged. Former patients' families stepped forward, eager to share their stories. "He always took the time to listen to my son," one mother told a local journalist. "Never rushed us, never put profit before care. And they wanted to remove him?" Public outrage swelled, forcing the healthcare corporation to abandon its attempted takeover. When the judge finally delivered the verdict, there was no ambiguity. Primary custody is awarded to Max Trexler. Mrs. Trexler will have supervised visitation, contingent upon completing both parenting courses and counseling. Aria didn't hesitate. She threw herself into her father's arms. "Can we get ice cream?" she asked, relief bright in her voice. Max laughed, the sound unburdened for the first time in months. "Of course." The state swimming championship became a milestone for Aria. From the stands, Max and Faith watched as she surged forward in the final lap, touching the wall first and setting a personal record. "That's my girl," Max said, his voice thick with pride. Faith squeezed his hand. "She's amazing." "So is her father," she added with a smile. The fallout from the scandal continued to ripple outward. Saul's termination made headlines, especially once multiple harassment allegations surfaced. Chloe was stripped of her executive title that same day, reassigned to a lesser role in a small firm across the country. Meanwhile, Alberta's desperate attempts to reach Aria were swiftly blocked. "The restraining order is explicit," Max reminded the school's security officer. "No unsupervised contact." But amid the chaos, there was also progress. Max's clinic partnered with Rachel's pediatric practice to launch an innovative therapy program. "We're helping twice as many children now," Rachel observed at the launch. "Something good came out of all this." Aria's 12th birthday was filled with laughter and true friendship. The backyard bustled with energy as Sally Daniel brought the swim team, Faith orchestrated games, and Rachel's kids blended effortlessly with Aria's school friends. That morning, a package arrived, Chloe's last attempt at redemption. Inside was an extravagant gift, accompanied by a tear-streaked letter pleading for reconciliation. "What do we do with it?" Aria asked, her face unreadable. Max didn't hesitate. "I think the children's hospital would appreciate it." Aria nodded, wrapping her arms around him. "Good call, Dad." As the night wound down, Max and Faith gathered decorations, tidying up after the celebration. Aria mentioned wanting to visit the coast this summer, Faith mused. Max glanced at her, thoughtful. "She loves the ocean." A beat of silence passed before he spoke again. "Would you like to come with us?" Faith's radiant smile said everything. The remnants of the party shimmered with possibility, signs of fresh starts, well-earned victories, and the battles that had truly mattered. Max had fought tirelessly to protect what was most important, dismantled those who sought to do harm, and emerged stronger for it. Success, he realized, wasn't just about overcoming obstacles. It was about holding on to integrity and resilience. Watching Aria and Faith laugh over the last slice of cake, Max knew, without a doubt, he had made the right choices. "Dad," Aria called, eyes dancing with excitement. "Faith's never been surfing. Can we teach her this summer?" Max met Faith's gaze across the room and smiled. "That sounds like a great idea." The future stretched before them, wide and full of promise, free from deception, built on trust. Every moment of joy and peace had been hard-won, and now, finally, they could live it. Epilogue. 5 years later. A soft spring breeze carried the scent of fresh blooms through the courtyard of Max's expanded clinic. The therapeutic garden, a collaboration with Rachel's pediatric practice, was alive with activity. Children played as they strengthened their motor skills, their laughter blending with birdsong. From their shared office, Faith watched as Max guided a young patient through balance exercises. It was a scene of purpose, healing, and fulfillment, the reward for years of struggle and perseverance. And this was only the beginning. Even after 5 years of marriage, she still found herself admiring the unwavering dedication he showed to his young patients. Their wedding had been a small but heartfelt affair, with 16-year-old Aria standing proudly as the maid of honor, while Rachel's children played their roles in the ceremony with enthusiasm. "Dad's at it again," Aria observed, stepping up beside Faith at the window. Fresh from swim practice, she had grown into a striking young woman, her years of discipline and hard work earning her a swimming scholarship to Stanford. "That thing?" Faith asked knowingly, already anticipating the answer. Aria smirked, fully aware of the routine by now. "Spending extra time with the kids who remind him of me back in the day." Faith nodded, sharing in the quiet understanding. Max had always gravitated toward the children who fought against the odds, those who refused to let their circumstances define them. What had once been just a dream, the clinic, had transformed into a nationally recognized model of ethical pediatric care, highlighted in medical journals and studied by professionals across the country. The corporate takeover attempt that once threatened them felt like a distant memory, especially after their groundbreaking therapy program gained national acclaim. Rachel entered the room, carrying 2 steaming mugs of coffee. Now 47, she had found her own path to happiness and was engaged to a fellow pediatrician who shared her passion for medicine. "Quarterly reports just came in," she announced. "Our practice is outperforming every corporate-owned healthcare facility in the state." "Integrity breeds success," Faith said with a smile, quoting their unofficial motto. "How's the new therapy wing coming along?" Faith asked. "Right on track," Rachel confirmed. "The sensory garden should be ready in time for summer programs." She glanced at her phone and suddenly grinned. "Oh, you'll love this. Guess who's trying to stage another redemption tour?" Faith raised an eyebrow. Chloe? Rachel's voice was thick with sarcasm. Posted another long-winded apology online. Claims she's grown and learned from her mistakes. And how are people responding? Ruthless, Rachel replied. Chloe Trexler, once known as Chloe Smith, had spent years trying to reclaim her reputation after being ousted from her executive role. She had bounced between small firms, each stint ending in failure, her tainted reputation following her like an unshakable shadow. Her court-mandated visits with Arya had ceased when Arya turned 14 and made it clear she wanted nothing more to do with her. She sent another birthday card last week, Arya mentioned casually. Dad and I donated it to the Children's Hospital like always. Saul Smith's downfall had been even more catastrophic. Once the first allegations surfaced, more victims came forward, each revelation sealing his fate further. The weight of mounting legal fees drained his savings, and every attempt to re-enter the workforce crumbled under the burden of his own misdeeds. He applied for a job at Western Real Estate, Rachel added. They did a quick online search and ended the interview within 5 minutes. The last they had heard, Saul and Chloe had briefly reconnected, both desperate to regain their lost influence. Predictably, it had ended in disaster. Saul had been caught cheating yet again, this time with a younger executive, leaving Chloe to endure fresh humiliation. Alberta Merritt, unwilling to accept her diminished standing, had taken to reaching out to Arya through social media. Her persistence, however, had only resulted in an extended restraining order. These days, she spent her time ranting about parental alienation in obscure blog posts that no one read. Remember Drew? Arya asked suddenly. Ran into him at the coffee shop yesterday. He tried reminiscing about the old days. How's he doing? Faith asked, though she had a good guess. Arya shrugged. Entry-level sales at some startup. Turns out being known as the guy who helped cover up workplace harassment isn't great for career prospects. She hesitated for a moment before adding, he asked about Mom. And? I told him I already have all the parents I need. Faith pulled Arya into a warm embrace, her heart swelling with pride. Over the years, their relationship had grown strong, built not out of obligation, but out of mutual respect and genuine affection. Like the clinic's therapy garden, their blended family had flourished, each member thriving in an environment of trust and care. Max's patient-first approach had evolved into a groundbreaking model that prioritized long-term well-being over corporate interests. The clinic's waiting list grew longer with every passing month. Hey, Max stepped into the office, fresh from finishing up with a patient. What's going on in here? Watching you work your magic, Faith teased, leaning in for a quick kiss. And sharing news. Stanford already sent Arya's housing information. Max's face lit up with pride. Feels like just yesterday you were that determined 11-year-old refusing to give up on your butterfly stroke? Arya grinned. Well, someone taught me about persistence, she said, and integrity, and how to pick my battles. Rachel glanced at her watch. Speaking of battles, we should head to the board meeting. They're voting today on expanding our therapy program across the hospital network. As they gathered their materials, Max took a moment to survey the office. The walls told the story of their journey, Arya's swimming championships, his wedding to Faith, family vacations, Rachel's engagement party, the clinic's milestones, graduation ceremonies. Every framed memory represented a triumph, a testament to the power of standing by one's principles. Joining us for dinner tonight? He asked Rachel. The kids want more stories about their favorite aunt's wild medical school days. Wouldn't miss it, Rachel said with a smirk. Someone has to balance out all these swimming stories. They strolled together through the therapy garden, passing children engaged in their sessions, growing stronger, healing, and proving every day why their work mattered. The scent of roses drifted through the evening air, a quiet testament to how beauty could bloom in the most unlikely of places. As the night deepened, their home pulsed with warmth and laughter, the familiar melody of their weekly family gathering weaving through every room. Max leaned back, watching as Arya patiently coached Rachel's youngest on the basics of swimming, while Faith and Rachel animatedly debated different therapeutic practices. His phone buzzed, a message from Chloe delivered through a mutual acquaintance, something about regret, about hoping for another chance. Without a second thought, Max deleted it, refusing to entertain echoes of a past that no longer held power over him. Some chapters weren't meant to be rewritten. "Dad," Arya called. "Tell them about that time you and Faith got hopelessly lost looking for that secret surf spot." With a knowing smile, Max turned toward his family, leaving old burdens where they belonged, in yesterday. From the ruins of betrayal, they had built something remarkable. A life shaped by honesty rather than convenience, by values rather than easy escapes. They had come to realize that real success wasn't measured by speed or competition, but by the ability to arrive with one's integrity intact. Their happiness was not about validation from others. It was about the quiet satisfaction of knowing they had stood by their principles and emerged victorious on their own terms. Each year, the roses in their garden flourished more brilliantly, their roots digging deeper into the earth. Much like their family, grounded in trust, strengthened by love, and made indestructible by the storms they had weathered together. Across the room, Faith met Max's eyes, her smile conveying a depth of understanding that needed no words. They had made their choices, fought their battles, and come out not just whole, but stronger. And as Max surveyed the family they had built, thriving and unwavering, he knew this was the truest victory of all. Our story comes to an end here. Life doesn't fall apart in a single day. It starts to crack long before the final blow. Betrayal begins with indifference, and loss begins with silence. The story of Max Trexler isn't just about pain, revenge, or justice. It's a reminder to all of us. Never betray those who believe in you. Respect, honesty, and presence. These are the foundations of any family. And when one starts building secrets instead of bridges, the reckoning is only a matter of time. But what truly matters isn't how many times you've been betrayed. It's how you respond. Max chose restoration over destruction, protection over vengeance. He remained human, no matter the storm. And that's everything. In a world where betrayal for personal gain is easy, staying true to yourself is the boldest act of all. Remember, strength isn't striking back. Strength is standing tall, protecting those you love, and rising from pain stronger than before. Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for taking the time to watch. If you enjoyed this story, please check out other videos on this channel. See you soon, my dear friend.